Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Samri.
Welcome to the Lines Between the Stars podcast. All right, so take it away. You're the one with the topic today.
Okay, so we were having lunch today, and then I was like, we should have a podcast. And then you're like,
About
should
what?
the topic
Yeah, what's the topic?
And I'm like, we should have a topic about a black woman or an interracial relationship where there's a black person and a non-black person talking about racial incidents in the news.
Okay. And personally for me, I don't really watch the news very much.
Yeah, I don't either.
I read the news if it pops up on my feed, pretty much. Even then, it's very much not a lot. Because I'm the type to usually curate what appears on my feed. You'd be very surprised on how nice of a place Twitter is when you don't click on the trending tab.
Oh, okay.
And you follow less than 200 people.
Limit
the amount of things you see, and then hey, you know what? Cool. I just get cool posts of art. But yeah, just but stories like these happen. And what are some concerns? Like, what are concerns you have, or of like an interracial couple when like stories are shared like this?
It's that I guess for me, I don't watch the news either.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had TV since I was 14. My aunt was like, yeah, you're going to donate this to Goodwill. You need to focus on your studies. So anyways, so since then, like, I've never been I don't miss TV.
Yeah.
Or cable, all that stuff, because of the ads and the 24/7 news cycle. Like, like they always try to get you riled up, and it's not good for your mental or emotional health.
Yeah.
At the same time, I feel like maybe I should be paying more attention if I don't know if I'm missing anything important.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I feel if I need to know it, then I'll know it. Or I'll find out because of my social media feed.
Yeah.
And just being a black woman in black women empowerment /divested /
Yeah, like stories get shared around.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah, I can't get away from it, to be honest. It's impossible because the way that I learned more details of the Buffalo, New York shooting.
The way that she's saying it like that is because earlier today she was saying Baltimore, and all throughout the time we were saying Baltimore, and then before we went live, I'm just like, hey, maybe we should just do a fact check on this story and read it just before, like, this article before we like talk about it. And lo and behold, we find out it's Buffalo, not Baltimore.
Yeah, they both started with the letter B. That's how my mind works.
Yeah.
Like the first letters. Anyway.
Yeah, Samri apologizes to all of you who live in Buffalo for getting your city wrong.
Yeah, that's true. I was like, Anyways.
So,
I think
our hearts go out to the people in Buffalo, by the way.
Buffalo. Yeah, I have a friend who lives there. Maybe I should check in on her.
Yeah. Anyways, describe the story.
Okay.
To describe the story, an 18-year-old man, white man, white boy / man. I've been saying man because at this point you should be tried as an adult rather than a kid.
Okay.
Making that justification difference. He went out to Buffalo and like shot up a grocery store. And he had this manifesto they put up on Discord, which said kind of like how he thought black people were like invading. They were like you know, like the usual rhetoric you see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the usual rhetoric you see. And yeah, he shot up a lot of people, which unfortunately we didn't do research on any of the victims. Because that's one thing that I do think that these articles miss out, is they don't really talk about who died.
That's true.
They only talk about like and that's like a problem with like shooter media in general. Is that it like spawns more shooters because they get attention to these people. Right?
Yeah.
Like this guy,
makes them
even the article just mentioned like they were inspired by a shooting that happened in New Zealand in 2019. Right?
And yeah, because the New Zealand shooter also had a camera where he wanted to record the killings.
Yeah. So there's that thing. There's no, and same thing with like, you know, like we care so much about the shooters, but in our society, like we kind of, the way we treat the victims is like, oh, they can F themselves. Like look at everyone from Sandy Hook. They're still trying to like have their voices heard, but like a lot of people are like, oh, who cares about you?
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's like whole things about like this one, like was it senator or congresswoman who supported gun rights, was like, oh, these kids are soft, these kids are too soft, even though like their school got shot up. You know, it's like what do you expect? Of course they're gonna be like angry that like about gun laws when like they've had friends die.
Yeah. It seems like in America, the guns have more rights, and the people who own the guns have more rights than the victims or than women.
Yeah.
Fetuses and bullets.
Yep. A bullet has more rights than a woman does.
Yes.
Same thing with viruses. Viruses also have more rights than women do, apparently.
How so?
Let's see. Remember in Texas how it's like they banned abortion, but like no one didn't give a shit about like mask mandates or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
A virus has more right to live than
it can go from person to person.
Yeah.
And they won't do a mandate.
That's the pro-life mandate, I suppose.
Yeah, because it has to go along with
Yeah.
ways of killing those lives.
Yeah. I'm just joking.
Anyways, it's really dark.
It's dark.
We're so dark. This is our normal conversation.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's a mix.
It's a mix. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, and then sometimes it's like it's when it's a dark topic, you tend to gravitate towards like making like jokes, you know. It's like a self-protection like process, you know, to avoid like getting too down on yourself. You make like a joke to make yourself laugh.
Speaking of, I guess, how to deal with these sorts of news in an interracial couple, because like I'm pretty sure, you know, non-black men who are in a relationship or partnership with black women or black men or like non-black women
a non-black partner talking to another black partner.
And especially if the non-black partner is a male, because it's always going to be a male who's going to be the shooter. There's never been a white woman who just like decides to kill, like, you know,
mass amount of people. Usually if a lot of the times that I've known that I've read a woman shooter, it's always been a very personal like target rather than indiscriminate. It's mostly like, oh, she shot her husband or something like that. So I think that's a case too.
So it's rarely motivated by like theories and because so when it comes to mentioning victims, my company sent out a company-wide email listing out their names, their age,
Yeah.
what their occupation was,
Mm-hmm.
what they were doing at the grocery store.
Okay.
So I was like, like whenever I read those names and what they were doing, like I got really emotional.
Yeah.
And then, like, I didn't know that you didn't know, so I was like going through this by myself.
Yeah.
Because like I also didn't want to, ruin your day
Mm-hmm.
by telling you this,
Yeah.
sad news either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, I don't know if, what do you prefer? Do you prefer if I tell you these things?
If it's like a news article, yeah, that
Okay.
would be okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's a general advice.
General
So like
advice.
feel free to discuss things.
Mm-hmm.
And the non-black partner, you shouldn't feel like you're being targeted.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't feel targeted. One, I'm not white.
Mm-hmm.
Which I have to, apparently, I feel like I have to say now, because apparently people think I'm white. Like, whenever you mention,
Oh, yeah.
like, you have a husband that's not black, they assume that I'm white.
That's true, yeah.
That's the entertaining thing. That's so entertaining. I was like, yo, I'm not white.
Maybe you sound
I
white.
sound very white. That is very true. I do sound very white. But I have to mention I ain't white. But yeah, I don't feel targeted at all because,
okay.
I mean, I don't think there are very many Asian shooters, to be real.
Okay. That's
But
true.
yeah,
Not as
like,
much.
Not
yeah.
as much. Like, a lot of these
Yeah.
shooters, they tend to be white.
Or black.
Yeah.
There's been more black men who've been mass shooting. these
I don't know, I
days.
feel like the famous ones that I always hear about tend to be white.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like the ones that like shoot up like a whole school or something like that. Those tend to be white.
That's true. Yeah. And so the ideology that the 18-year-old Buffalo, New York shooter had was called, or is called, the replacement theory.
Yeah?
I've always had this, like, like I would always tell you, oh, white people want to increase their numbers. So, like whenever we talk about like abortion, bans and stuff like that, I always have like these conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was an actual theory.
I think that is weird that like if that's the case, like if like the abortion stuff, then like wouldn't that also decrease the number of black babies out there if abortions were allowed?
It'll increase the number of black babies.
An abortion, yeah, but like
banning the abortion.
But you said they didn't want more white people though, but that would also
no. So like the reason why they want to overturn Roe versus Wade, which made it so that women can have abortions, is one of my conspiracy theories is that it's because they want to increase the number of white babies that are born. But yeah, like you said, it will also increase the number of black babies that are born.
Yeah.
But it also...
yeah, exactly. That wouldn't fix anything.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually thinking about it today. I'm like, there's been, I guess, like, more disproportionate rate of black women who've been getting abortions. And there's also a segment of the black community who feels that... Margaret Sanger, who is the white woman who, like, right when she started with, like, Planned Parenthood, she got funding from white supremacists, men. She got funding, but I feel like she just tricked them to give her money. Yeah. But like, opened it up to every race of women. But, like, I think she used their racist thought of, like, oh, okay, let's give her money so she can help more, like Hispanic and black women have abortions. That was their thought. But like there's a portion of the black community that believes that Planned Parenthood was started to, have more black women have abortions.
Yeah.
And they believe that if it is banned, then there will be more black babies, and then the community will be stronger, but I just don't
There's
understand
like
that thinking.
that makes no sense. Like,
It doesn't, because like how's their life, how's the baby's life going to be once they're born, like into a community that's poor, to a woman, a black mother who doesn't want to have kids, like you know, if a lot of them can't have abortions, then it's going to lead to a lot more abuse.
Yeah. Have you ever seen those cases where you see a kid and you look at the parents and you just think those two people should not have had kids?
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of the time is because they don't have resources to take care of the kid.
Resources,
Yeah.
nor like maybe the emotional maturity to raise a kid too. That's another
That's true.
thing. Like, you know, like not it's not only just financial, but also like emotional readiness as well.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who are not emotionally ready to have kids.
Yeah. Because they haven't raised themselves, or like they haven't like reached the maturity
Yeah.
to consider someone else's feelings, you know.
That's correct.
So yeah, it's going to, it has already started, and it won't be good for and the reason why there's a lot of concern for that law to be being overturned in the black community is because the black community is very religious and patriarchal. So which means they would stand by biblical rules that are like 2,000 plus years old,
that have not taken account of like modern day like things, you know. Even like we can even look at the constitutional bill, whereas the, you know, like the bill of the Bill of Rights, that is actually very outdated for like what it is, and like a lot of certain things, like things were written like that do not apply nowadays, or like the circumstances have changed. Like when they wrote that, they had originally intended for it to really only apply to white men, right?
Yeah, with land,
right? And we had to like change that wording around to be like all people are created equal.
They haven't actually changed
they haven't
the
changed
words.
it, but like the spirit of it.
Yeah.
But like it's the same thing with like, and the same thing with like with the gun laws. Back then, there weren't semi-automated automated weapons available to people. It was just like a hunting rifle.
Yeah, and I think you have to like fill it. It takes some time to like.
Yeah, it takes time to do it. You used it for like hunting. The caliber wasn't as like powerful, you know. Like those guns back then were very different from guns right now.
Yes. Yeah. Now it's designed to just destroy a body.
Yeah. I think like for hunting rifles, and like another thing is more of like, I'm not opposed of someone someone who's gone through training, someone who's had like a background check, getting a gun, you know.
I mean,
like,
the 18-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Exactly. Let me finish.
Okay.
That's not the case now.
How so?
You can go to like a gun show and just buy a gun.
Do you have to be 18?
Yeah, you have to be 18. But also, there's also no control of people doing like secondhand gun sales. There's no responsibility on them to like do a background check or anything like that. The person selling the gun to a kid who shoots up the school isn't going to be punished.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense to punish the.
It makes
sellers.
100% to punish them.
But they wouldn't know what the reason is.
They shouldn't be selling a gun without that though.
Without background check. Okay, so the reason why I said, what if it's an 18-year-old? Because he doesn't have much background to check. You need to have like, some time to accumulate all these things.
Yeah, but then like another thing too is like, require like for other places in the world, like it's strict to get a gun, right? you need like a reason to get a gun, right? Like you're a hunter, or your a certain job requires it.
Yep.
Military. Military or what have you. There's like, like rules. You need to pass like a psych check. Stuff like this. I just think right now it's like the gun check, like us checking for gun, like the requirements to be allowed to carry a gun are very light.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then also like there's also like if you're getting it illegally, then there's like people are gonna get it illegally too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's easy, but like even then, it's easy to get a gun.
Yeah. Because they also, I think that's one of the arguments that gun rights. Wait, is it called gun rights?
Depends on what you're talking about.
Gun rights people have about like, you don't only want to have bad guys, quote unquote, have
guns.
access to guns.
Yeah.
You also want the regular person to have access to guns. Which I also agree with, because there's groups that train women in
self-defense.
Yeah, because it's important. That's like, like in the past, it was only the mafia and the gangs who used to have guns.
Yeah.
But now anyone can have guns. So I think it's supposed to be like, in the US, it's like free for all. Everyone should have guns, so that if someone comes with a semi-automatics, they can be stopped. But then, like, would you get in trouble if you shoot someone who has a semi-automatic who's using it, right? Because you're not a police officer.
Yeah.
So then, are you going to be going to jail because you're defending
yourself? There's been a lot of cases where people like they shoot a gun at a guy in self-defense and they get like the majority of the trouble. Yeah, there was a case of a black woman who did a warning shot and was sent to jail for like 20 years or whatever. Jeez. So it's very law is very prejudiced or biased. So it wouldn't be right to, I guess we're kind of screwed at this point. Yeah. Like there's always, I've never liked crowds since I was a kid. Yeah.
But now I'm just like, okay, if there's too many people in one place,
you don't like it.
Yeah, something might like, someone would have a gun. What if they're arguing with someone else? I don't want to be caught in the crossfire or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like be targeted by, what is it? People like 18 freaking year olds, like, and they're getting younger and younger too. I've noticed, like, they do the most damage.
They've been like, school shootings are usually done by like someone from the school.
Oh yeah, school shootings, of course, and also these white men who go to like a black church.
Yeah.
Or a black grocery store. Like, like there's very like
a lot of times too, I feel like at that age you're the most impressionable. So when you read stuff online like this, like you're more impressionable to like, oh yeah, and and at that time you're also like the most like chemically coked up from your own body.
Yeah.
Like you don't even need to be on drugs to be like, as a kid, like you're just in a state of puberty high. Right, you're already on drugs. Yeah. Just by going through puberty on a chemical level. Yeah. And so when they read this, like, oh shit, and they're like more riled up. Their emotions are like all like super riled up.
Oh yeah. That plus there's people in position of authority, like ex-presidents, presidents.
Yeah.
Congress people who say things and it affects young men. And so I started listening to this audiobook called The Male Brain. And it seems like ever since a boy is born,
Yeah.
like when the testicles form or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the doctor is like. Yeah, it affects the brain in such a
Mm-hmm.
level where like the boys develop differently. Like they're attracted to, you know, like motion and violence and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
It's
I think that comes from just like how
Mhm.
like nature, how like nature was,
yeah, and I mean like I guess it's something like anyone can say that men are just like in general violent,
Mm-hmm.
and when they have access to guns and when their brain is coked up with
Mm-hmm.
like puberty hormones, you know, there's going to be way more incidents like this
Yeah.
then.
I think there's also like, there's also like, I think the idea is like that sort of thing can be counterbalanced by like discipline, having like a healthy outlet,
Yeah, for men.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like getting into like, I mean, for me, I really like martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do actually take a martial arts, it's an outlet for you it helps you actually be nonviolent.
Mm-hmm. Something physical.
Yeah, because fighting is different than violence. That probably makes no sense, but fighting is consensual. Violence is not. If two people get into I call it like a sparring, like a spar
Okay.
or a fight that is consensual. Like a bar fight, or bar like a bar altercation, that's not a fight. That's violence.
Because they don't know each other or something.
They don't know each other. It's not like a consensual. It's not like a consensual fight where like two people are trying to like improve like using their skills. It's just like a brawl.
Mm-hmm.
That's different from a fight.
Okay.
Like it's hard to explain to someone who doesn't do martial arts too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that sort of it's that sort of thing. Because I like sparring with people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to like pick a fight with someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like that's like discipline, and that's discipline, right?
Yeah.
That's learning. That's learning That's like learning
Mm-hmm.
what to do, right?
So it's like you need to, if you have influence over a boy, then I guess that's
Having some
something
structure,
that like a father or an uncle can do with a boy. Then.
Like some structure.
Yeah.
Like structure is nice,
Mm-hmm.
for a young boy with like all this like with this like relentless energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like sports does the same thing too,
Mm-hmm.
Sports does something too, like something to like direct, because people are like, oh yeah, they're just playing, they're just like doing all these like like violent things. It's like, well, like you can divert that energy to like a more like no one would bat an eye. It's like, oh yeah, like making him do like soccer or like track and field or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You would say that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And like like in my opinion, like doing martial arts is like a good, like I feel like martial arts helped form me who I was. I spent like 8 to 10 years doing taekwondo,
Okay.
and that helped me like give myself like a sense of discipline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were also mentioning how martial arts helped you with like mental health and your school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because like like going to martial arts, you have something. It's like working out. It's like working out or doing any other exercise. There are days you don't want to go, but you go anyways.
Yeah.
It helps train that discipline muscle of just doing the things you don't want to do, but you should. Right.
Yeah.
And like control.
Mm-hmm.
Right. For me, the people who like, or like like people who lived with like a disciplined thing, like it depends on the discipline too. Like there can be too much discipline. You do have to balance it. But I feel like when I went to martial arts, it was my choice.
Okay.
In the end, it was my choice to go to martial arts because I want to learn kung fu. I want to learn like martial arts because I thought it was really cool.
You were influenced by kung fu movies.
Yeah, I liked watching kung fu movies, right? And then I wanted to be kind of like that, so that's why I took Taekwondo. And I noticed that, like, yeah, like that has applied lessons for me that are like not related to like Taekwondo. You know, that's related to like, you know, like me going to the gym and exercising, right?
Yeah.
And me like just being like, oh, let me just like work on this, or like, hey, let me cooking like me cooking a lot, right?
That's also discipline.
That's also discipline, because I can also just like not cook. I can not cook.
That's true, yeah.
I could just not cook.
That's true, yeah.
Right? But I do it anyway.
You could just get takeout.
I could just get takeout every day and enjoy it that way too. You know? So it's kind of like that's another thing. Doing the laundry, you know, like doing the laundry when I don't feel like it, or like doing the dishes every day. That's
true.
That's a sense of discipline, you know?
That's true, yeah. Yeah, because you can easily let things go.
Yeah.
And
that's
the sink fills.
Yeah.
With
And in a
dishes.
more extreme case, like, you know, you let your emotions run wild. You let your like emotions run wild too, you know? Like you're just like going out and you're just like getting mad at like this single thing, you know, at a single thing, right?
Yeah. And you also, I was watching and you were like passively watching the show The Night Sky.
Yeah.
And you were like, you said something about people who get like depressed. Is that like you said, did you say something about discipline?
Yeah, I don't think I said anything about discipline.
Okay.
I think I was just kind of like, yeah, it sucks because like when you're in that state, you just don't feel like doing anything.
Yeah.
And like it can be really hard to like, even for people who want to help out, it's very hard to, right?
Yeah.
I said that the dude needed one of the characters like needed therapy. I was like, dude needs therapy.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, he's taking drugs. I was like, that's not therapy though. I mean, it depends on every people. Like drugs don't work on everyone.
Yeah.
And some people are better with therapy, like in terms of mental illness, right? I mean, I have ADHD, but like I don't take medication for it, for example. In my case, I'm just like, I just have like a very disciplined like upbringing.
Okay.
And then I just do things like exercise and eat well, which gives me the dopamine like centers that feeds my ADHD dopamine needs.
Okay.
You know?
And you also have your own interests that you do that like feeds your dopamine as well.
Exactly.
Which is having a good life, work, personal life balance.
Yeah, but like for people with depression and stuff like that, it's hard for them to get to that point. You know, it's hard for them to get to the point of like finding a thing that they like because they don't feel like doing anything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, oh, like, and I think I'm not a therapist. We're not trained therapists at all. But like I've definitely met with people who like were depressed at some point, and just for them, just like, man, you can feel like the world is going against you.
Yeah.
And you just kind of want to, and you don't want to be disappointed. So you decide just not to do anything. If you don't do anything, you can't be disappointed.
That's true. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I used to suffer from really bad depression.
Yeah.
And I was like actually a kid at that point.
It can affect you when you're young too.
Yeah, it was
especially
really
when
bad.
You're young.
Yeah.
Especially when you're young.
I got a hold of like I'm way better and I can spot when I'm like going down that like
depressive state.
Yeah.
Me too. Like I definitely had like a depressive state, and it was mostly during school when I was like going through school. I had like big bouts of depression. High school and college. Yeah. Like burnout, stuff like that. And a lot of times it's like, I know what usually causes those things. I usually tend to avoid them. And then like I know how to like make myself feel better. Yeah.
Okay. So like I know where it is, like how far I am away from that state of like the sunken place,
Yeah.
you know, from Get Out movie,
Mm-hmm.
where you feel like, okay, I can't lift myself out of this dark place.
Mm-hmm.
So then I avoid getting to that spot
Yeah.
by like, I don't know, watching like
Happy
I've,
stuff.
yeah, I've subscribed to a YouTube channel called Laughs and Gags or something.
Mhm.
They're from like Toronto or something,
Yeah.
Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I just watch stuff and it makes me smile.
Yeah.
And I watch comedy shows like Cat Williams and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's good to like balance your timeline and your feed with silly stuff.
Yeah. I will also just mention, hey, you see that trending tab? You see that trending tab on your feed, whether it was on Facebook or like Instagram or Twitter, TikTok or whatever. Well, TikTok, they just throw everything at you. You can't control what you see on TikTok. But like you see, just don't click trending. Don't you do it. Don't click on that trending button.
Yeah.
Who cares about what's trending?
So something I didn't discuss before. So at work, like okay, so I'm part of Black Employee Network
Mm-hmm.
at work,
Yeah.
and there was an event, like a community drop-in, where Black people can come and I don't know talk about like how they feel. And on Friday, this past Friday, there was another community drop-in where Black employees talked about their feelings, you know, like their emotional state. And then there was, so like they talked about how they either had a team manager who doing stand-up,
Mm-hmm.
which means like everyone is present and they talk about what they did yesterday and what they're planning to do today. So during team meetings, they said their non-Black manager
Mm-hmm.
asked how they're doing with like everyone present, and
Yeah.
it made them feel weird and put on the spot.
Yeah.
And then they said they prefer if they the non-Black manager checked in separately.
Yeah.
But then others also said that they appreciated talking,
Yeah.
or like
I think that's
the manager mentioning it.
I think that's dependent. That's not just exclusive to like a Black and non-Black individual. I think that's probably
It was part of
applicable.
it though.
Yeah. But I definitely know like I know a lot of people, and mostly just because of the circles I'm in. I'm with a lot more introverted people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of introverted people don't like being put on the spot.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I mean, even extroverted people, they were saying that because their manager was not Black, they felt some type of way about it.
Okay, but even if there was mention, even if like they were also asking non-Black coworkers to asking their day.
That's why I'm like, I was conflicted about what they were saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with them expressing, okay, like, but then it also felt like just complaining because, you know, like the Ukraine situation.
Yeah.
There are Ukrainian contractors and coworkers, and there were team meetings where they were like, okay, we support you and all that stuff
Okay.
during the team meeting,
Yeah.
you know, where the Ukrainians were there. So it's like, would you have preferred if they spoke about the Ukrainian situation, but they didn't speak about the Black situation?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what do you want exactly? Like,
Yeah.
I understand, you know, it's you know, American racial politics is like
Weird. And like it's kind of like also too like let just not even just to maybe like focus on Black, but also like Asian too. Like right now in the Philippines, we got some like really tense situations with the fascist regime right now. Like a lot of Filipinos are like trying to like escaped the country. But
Oh,
like
okay.
in America, I mean, we haven't seen anything like support the
No.
Philippines or anything like that.
No, I
Not
only
everyone.
heard-
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Not everyone even knows about it too, right?
Yeah.
So like it's kind of like applies to like not just it like applies to like other groups as well.
That's true.
You know.
I wonder if Asians, or I guess you're not a Filipino, but do you feel like it would be helpful if workplace is designed to support different happenings and news that happen to different groups? Should it be acknowledged?
I'll be really care even if my work did do stuff like that, I wouldn't pay attention to it.
Like you would just disassociate?
I just disassociate, I just work.
Yeah.
That's
I tend
usually,
to be like that
that's
too.
usually my thing. I'm like, usually when stuff like that happens, I'm just like, I see the email and then I delete the email because I'm waiting for like other emails or like to get my job done.
You
No.
just focus on work.
I just
like
focus on
primarily
work.
you just focus. Yeah.
Yeah, work's
You
work,
don't
you know?
you don't think about the news
Look,
or
I'm annoyed when there is like a free beer day at work. And just like, you guys just trying to trick me into staying longer at the office. Or like, let's see. I worked at a company that had like unlimited drinks. But like, I did not care for that because I was trying to live healthy. So it was like a nothing thing, you know? Just like, I'm like, look, you just need to give me that unlimited you just need to give me free coffee or free tea and good. That's it. That's all you need to give me.
Yeah. The alcohol thing for me is very controversial because it makes things unsafe at work.
Yeah. I'm just when I see like when I see certain things, because I tend to also just bring my own lunch stuff, so I don't really care if there's like catering at my company. Because I like bringing my own lunch. I'm doing this myself. But I understand certain companies where it's like some people getting employed. Like we work with programmers.
Yeah.
There are a lot of programmers who don't know how to take care of themselves. Like,
oh, you think that's the company trying to take care of their
yeah. I'll just say, like, I worked with Microsoft. That's totally the case with people who work at Microsoft.
Oh.
Or they're like, hey, look at all these like different things we have at our
Did they have
campuses.
showers?
Yeah, they have showers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good, but it's like it shows.
I mean, especially if
you.
they have a gym. Especially if they have a gym, you know, then they have to have showers. But like, there's also like, oh, you have a hairstylist here. You have all these free drinks. You have unlimited sodas.
That's
you know?
true. Yeah.
You have a post office. We got a bike shop here. You know, like you don't need to even go anywhere. You can just stay at work. You know, so it's like, oh my god, we have like look at all these different like on campus like restaurants. They're cheaper than the restaurants like around in the area.
That's
you know,
true.
it's like a lot of it is meant to keep you at the company.
Yeah, just continue working.
Just work here. And I'm very, for me, when I see that, I'm like very sensitive to that sort of thing because I've like seen a lot of it. So I'm like, I know when they're trying to keep you in, and I'm like, no, I'm out.
Where do people sleep?
Oh, they have a napping room. They have napping rooms in Microsoft. You know, they have quiet areas where you can just take a nap.
Oh, I mean, it sounds comfortable.
Yeah, or like also like, hey, you can just or like worst case scenario, you can just sleep underneath your desk.
Sounds sad.
I've done that in college.
Oh, okay.
I've done that in college where like I had like a project due and I just like I don't have time to go home. I need to just sleep here.
Oh wow.
Saves like an hour, but you need.
I guess.
Yeah.
Plus you're young, so you can like.
Yeah, you're young. You can do
bounce
it.
Back,
yeah, bounce back easy.
That's true. In any case, I hope there were some gems you can take away.
We were very not focused with this podcast, but that's fine.
I think we did still, discuss how to manage your MLY.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification,
Thank
And
you
we'll
for tuning
see
in.
you all later. Bye.